The sun had barely risen over New York City when the first signs of trouble appeared. The sky, usually a soft blue at this time of morning, turned an eerie shade of orange. People stopped on the streets to look up, their faces filled with confusion and unease. High above the towering skyscrapers, tiny dots began to appear. At first they looked like distant stars, but within moments those dots grew larger, faster than anything anyone had ever seen. It didn't take long for panic to set in. The objects were ships, thousands upon thousands of them. They filled the sky, blotting out the light of the rising sun. Each ship was enormous, bigger than any human-made vessel. Their shapes were strange, almost organic, as if they weren't machines but living things. Some people screamed. Others froze, unable to believe what they were seeing. A few tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Among the chaos stood Alex Carter, a man who had once worn the uniform of the United States Marine Corps, but now spent his days operating drones for a private security company. He was on his way to work when the ships arrived. Like everyone else, he stopped in his tracks, staring upward. His heart pounded in his chest, but unlike most people, he didn't freeze. Years of training kicked in, and his mind raced to make sense of the situation. "What are they?" Someone nearby whispered, their voice trembling. Alex didn't answer. He didn't know, but one thing was clear. These ships weren't here for a friendly visit. Something about their presence felt wrong, almost predatory. As he watched, the largest ship descended lower, its shadow stretching across the city like a dark omen. Then came the sound, a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the ground and made Alex's teeth ache. It wasn't just noise. It was a warning. Before anyone could react, beams of light shot down from the ships. They struck buildings, streets, and vehicles, leaving destruction in their wake. Explosions erupted everywhere, sending plumes of smoke and debris into the air. Screams filled the streets as people ran in every direction, desperate to escape. Alex dropped to the ground, shielding his head as chunks of concrete rained down around him. When he looked up again, the world had changed. Cars lay overturned, some burning fiercely. Buildings crumbled, their steel frames twisted and broken. Bodies littered the streets, though Alex tried not to look too closely. The air smelled of smoke and ash, and the once familiar skyline was unrecognizable. He scrambled to his feet, brushing dust off his jacket. His phone buzzed in his pocket, but when he pulled it out, the screen showed no signal. Of course, he thought bitterly. Why would they leave us with communication? "Hey!" a voice called out. Alex turned to see a woman running toward him. She was younger than him, maybe in her late 20s, with short brown hair and glasses perched on her nose. Her clothes were disheveled, and she clutched a laptop bag tightly against her chest. "Are you okay?" she asked, panting. "I'm fine," Alex replied, though he wasn't sure if that was true. "Who are you?" "My name's Rachel Monroe," she said quickly. "I'm a scientist. I was heading to my lab when... Well, you saw what happened." Alex nodded. "Alex Carter, ex-Marine." Rachel glanced around nervously. "Do you have any idea what's going on?" "Not a clue," Alex admitted. "But I don't think they're here to negotiate peace." As if on cue, another blast shook the ground beneath their feet. This one came from farther away, likely targeting another part of the city. Rachel stumbled but managed to stay upright. "We need to find shelter," she said urgently. "If we stay out here, we're dead," Alex agreed. "Follow me." He led Rachel through the wreckage, weaving between abandoned cars and piles of rubble. They passed other survivors along the way, some injured, others dazed and wandering, aimlessly. No one spoke. Everyone was too focused on surviving the next few minutes to worry about anything else. Eventually, Alex spotted an old subway entrance half hidden by debris. It wasn't much, but it would do. "This way," he said, motioning for Rachel to follow. Together they climbed down the stairs into the darkness below. The air was damp and musty, but it was safer than being above ground. Alex used the flashlight on his phone to guide them deeper into the tunnels. After a few minutes, they found a small alcove where they could rest. Rachel sat down heavily, setting her laptop bag beside her. "I can't believe this is happening," she muttered. Aliens? Seriously? It's not exactly how I imagined my day going either, Alex said dryly. He leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. What kind of scientist are you? Astrophysicist, Rachel replied. I've been studying anomalies in space for years. Strange signals, unusual energy readings. I always thought we'd make contact someday, but not like this. Alex raised an eyebrow. You think these guys are aliens? Of course they are, Rachel said, gesturing vaguely toward the surface. No human technology could create something like that. And trust me, I've seen enough sci-fi movies to recognize an invasion fleet when I see one. Alex couldn't argue with that. Still, it was hard to wrap his head around. Aliens, invasion. It all sounded absurd, like something out of a movie, but the devastation above ground was real enough. Whatever these beings were, they weren't messing around. So what do we do now? Alex asked after a moment of silence. Rachel hesitated. I don't know. But if I can get to my lab, I might be able to figure out more about them. Maybe even find a weakness. That's assuming your lab is still standing, Alex pointed out. It's underground, Rachel said firmly. Built to withstand earthquakes and nuclear blasts. If we can reach it, we'll have a chance. Alex considered this. On one hand, venturing back into the city seemed suicidal. On the other hand, sitting in a subway tunnel waiting to die didn't appeal to him either. Besides, Rachel was right. They needed answers. If anyone could make sense of this madness, it was her. All right, he said finally. Let's do it, but we move fast and stay low, got it? Rachel nodded. Got it. They waited until nightfall before heading back above ground. The city was eerily quiet now, lit only by the flickering flames of burning buildings. The alien ships hovered silently overhead, casting long shadows across the streets. Alex and Rachel moved cautiously, sticking to alleys and avoiding open spaces. Every step felt dangerous, every sound a potential threat. When they reached Rachel's lab, Alex was relieved to find it intact. The building was fortified just as Rachel had promised, and the security system still worked. Inside, the air was cool and sterile, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Rachel immediately got to work powering up her equipment and pulling up data on her computer screens. I've been tracking unusual cosmic activity for months, she explained as her fingers flew over the keyboard. Energy spikes, gravitational anomalies. I thought it was natural phenomena at first, but now I'm not so sure. And you think these aliens are behind it? Alex asked. It's possible, Rachel said. Maybe they've been watching us for years, waiting for the right moment to strike. Alex frowned. Why now? What changed? Rachel paused, her eyes narrowing as she studied the data. That's the question, isn't it? Why invade Earth? After all this time? For hours they worked together, piecing together fragments of information. Rachel analyzed satellite images and intercepted communications from the alien ships, while Alex kept watch, ensuring they weren't ambushed. Slowly, a picture began to emerge. The invaders weren't just conquerors. They were scavengers harvesting resources to sustain their dying homeworld. Earth, with its abundant water and minerals, was the perfect target. But there was something else. Something Rachel couldn't quite put into words. The aliens' behavior was methodical, almost mechanical. They didn't seem to value human life at all. To them, humanity was nothing more than an obstacle to be removed. By the time dawn broke, Rachel had uncovered enough to confirm their worst fears. The invasion wasn't just about taking resources, it was about extermination. The aliens intended to wipe out humanity entirely. We need to warn people, Rachel said grimly. If we don't fight back, we're finished. Alex nodded. Then let's get to work. Together, they prepared to join the resistance, knowing full well that the odds were against them. But as long as there was a chance, even a slim one, they refused to give up. Humanity's survival depended on it. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and destruction. Alex Carter and Rachel Monroe worked tirelessly in her underground lab, trying to piece together a plan while the world above crumbled. Outside, the alien ships continued their relentless assault, reducing cities to rubble and leaving millions dead or displaced. Communication networks had collapsed, making it nearly impossible to coordinate any kind of organized resistance. But despite the odds, Alex and Rachel refused to give up. Rachel spent most of her time analyzing data from the alien ships. Her computers hummed with activity as she sifted through satellite images, intercepted signals, and fragments of information she'd gathered before the invasion. Alex, on the other hand, took charge of keeping them safe. He patrolled the lab's perimeter, ensuring no scavengers or worse aliens discovered their hiding place. It was exhausting work, but neither of them complained. They knew they were running out of time. One evening, as Rachel pored over her findings, she let out a frustrated sigh. "I can't crack their language," she muttered, rubbing her temples. "Their communication patterns are so complex, it's like they're not even using words." Alex glanced up from cleaning his rifle. "You think they're telepathic?" "Not exactly," Rachel replied. "But their signals are neural, like they communicate through brainwaves or something." "That's creepy," Alex said flatly. "It's also our best shot at understanding them," Rachel added. "If we can figure out what they're saying, maybe we can find a way to fight back." Before Alex could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway leading to the lab. Both of them froze, exchanging worried glances. Alex grabbed his rifle and moved silently toward the entrance, his heart pounding. Whoever or whatever it was, they were close. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a figure holding a flashlight. Alex raised his weapon, ready to fire, but lowered it when he recognized the face. It was Emily Dawson, a former Air Force pilot who had been stationed at a nearby base before the invasion. She looked exhausted, her clothes torn and covered in dirt, but her sharp blue eyes still carried a spark of determination. "Whoa, easy there," Emily said, raising her hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." Alex lowered his rifle completely but kept it within reach. "How did you find us?" "I've been tracking power usage," Emily explained, stepping inside. "This place is off the grid, but I noticed some unusual energy spikes. Figured someone smart was holed up here." Rachel stood up from her desk, brushing stray strands of hair out of her face. "You're right about that," she said cautiously. "Who are you?" "Emily Dawson, the woman," replied. "Former Air Force. My squadron got wiped out during the first wave. I've been on my own ever since." Alex studied her carefully. She seemed trustworthy enough, but trust was a luxury they couldn't afford these days. "What do you want?" he asked bluntly. "I want to help," Emily said firmly. "I saw what those things are doing out there. Cities burned to the ground, people slaughtered like animals. I'm not sitting around waiting for them to come for me. If you're working on something, count me in." Rachel hesitated, then nodded. "We could use the help," she admitted, "but this isn't going to be easy." Emily smirked. "Easy doesn't win wars." Over the next few days, the trio worked together, pooling their skills and resources. Emily proved invaluable, sharing tactical knowledge from her time in the military and helping fortify the lab against potential threats. Meanwhile, Rachel made slow but steady progress deciphering the aliens' communications. Using advanced algorithms, she began to identify patterns in their neural signals, piecing together fragments of meaning. "You're getting somewhere?" Alex asked one afternoon, watching Rachel type furiously on her keyboard. "Maybe," she replied without looking up. "It's like solving a puzzle, but every piece is shaped differently. Their logic doesn't match ours." "Anything useful yet?" Emily chimed in, leaning against the wall. "A little," Rachel said. "From what I can tell, they refer to themselves as the Scourge, and they consider us expendable, primitive, not worth preserving." "Lovely," Alex muttered, sarcastically. "But there's more," Rachel continued. "They're harvesting resources, not just materials, but biological samples too, humans included." Emily frowned. "What are they doing with them?" Rachel hesitated. "I don't know for sure, but based on what I've seen, it's not good." The revelation hung heavy in the air. None of them spoke for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Alex broke the silence. "We need to see one of their ships up close. Maybe capture one of them. If we can study them directly, we might have a better chance. Emily raised an eyebrow. That's risky. Those things don't exactly play nice. It's the only way, Rachel insisted. We can't keep guessing. We need hard evidence. After much debate, they agreed on a plan. Alex would lead a small team to infiltrate one of the smaller alien ships that had landed near the outskirts of the city. Emily would provide air support using a stolen fighter jet she'd managed to salvage from the wreckage of her old base. Rachel would stay behind to monitor their progress and analyze any data they brought back. The mission was set for the following night. As they prepared, tension filled the lab. None of them were naive enough to believe this would be easy. The Scourge were ruthless, efficient killers. One wrong move and they'd all be dead. When the time came, Alex and Emily slipped out into the darkness, moving quickly and quietly through the deserted streets. The alien ship loomed ahead, its sleek, insect-like design casting long shadows under the pale light of the moon. It was smaller than the massive vessels hovering above the city, but still intimidating. Soldiers, or whatever the Scourge called them, patrolled the area, their movements jerky and unnatural. Alex signaled for Emily to take position nearby while he approached the ship with two other survivors who had volunteered for the mission. They crept forward, staying low and using the cover of abandoned vehicles and debris. When they reached the ship, Alex motioned for the others to stand guard while he searched for an entry point. The ship's surface shimmered faintly, almost like liquid metal. Alex pressed his hand against it experimentally, and to his surprise it rippled beneath his touch. A section of the hull dissolved, revealing a narrow opening. He gestured for the others to follow him inside. The interior was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. The walls pulsed faintly as if alive, and strange symbols glowed softly along the corridors. The air smelled metallic, and the temperature was uncomfortably warm. Every step felt like walking deeper into the belly of a beast. They hadn't gone far when they encountered their first Scourge soldier. It was tall and skeletal, with elongated limbs and a head that resembled a spider's. Its eyes, if they could be called that, glowed a sickly green. Before Alex could react, the creature lunged at him, claws extended. Adrenaline surged through Alex's veins as he dodged the attack, firing his rifle at the creature. The bullet struck its chest, causing it to stagger, but not fall. One of the other survivors joined the fight, tackling the Scourge from behind. Together they managed to subdue it, pinning it to the ground. "We need to restrain it," Alex shouted, pulling zip ties from his pack. Once the creature was secured, they dragged it back outside where Emily waited with the jet. She had already started the engine, and the roar of turbines drowned out the distant hum of the alien ships overhead. "Got it?" Emily called over the noise. "Yeah, let's go," Alex replied, climbing aboard with the others. As they soared into the night sky, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that capturing the Scourge soldier was only the beginning. Whatever secrets it held, they needed to uncover them fast. Humanity's survival depended on it. Back at the lab, Rachel greeted them with a mixture of different emotions: relief, excitement, and fear. She immediately set to work examining the captive Scourge, hooking it up to monitors and running tests. The creature thrashed violently, its glowing eyes locked onto Rachel with an intensity that sent chills down her spine. "This thing is incredible," Rachel murmured, studying the readings. "Its biology is completely alien. But there's something else." "What?" Alex asked, leaning closer. "It's communicating," Rachel said slowly. "Not with us, but with its kind. I think it's sending a signal." "Can you block it?" Emily asked sharply. "I'm trying," Rachel replied, adjusting the equipment. "But if I cut it off completely, it might kill the connection and the answers we need." They debated what to do next, weighing the risks. In the end, they decided to proceed carefully, monitoring the signal while continuing their analysis. Over the next several hours, Rachel managed to decode fragments of the Scourge's communication. What she discovered chilled them to the bone. "They're not just invaders," Rachel said grimly. "They're exterminators. Their planet is dying, and Earth is their new home. To them, we're nothing but pests standing in the way." Alex clenched his fists. "So they're planning to wipe us out?" "Yes. Rachel confirmed. And they won't stop until we're gone. The weight of her words settled over them, like a suffocating blanket. Despite the overwhelming odds, none of them voiced the thought that lingered in their minds. Was fighting back even worth it? Could humanity possibly survive against such a foe? But as Alex looked around at Rachel and Emily, he realized something important. They weren't giving up. Not yet. And as long as they kept fighting, there was still hope. The discovery that the Scourge viewed humanity as nothing more than pests to be exterminated left Alex, Rachel, and Emily with a grim sense of urgency. They knew they couldn't fight this war alone. If humanity had any chance of survival, they needed allies, people who could bring strength, resources, and hope to the resistance. But finding others willing to join their cause wasn't going to be easy. The world was in chaos and trust was a rare commodity. Rachel spent hours analyzing the captured Scourge soldier, learning everything she could about its biology and communication methods. The creature's neural signals were intricate, almost like a code. But Rachel's algorithm slowly began to translate fragments of meaning. She discovered that the Scourge operated as a collective, a hive mind of sorts. Each individual acted as part of a larger whole, guided by a central hub located on one of the massive ships orbiting Earth. This revelation gave them an idea. If they could target the hub, they might disrupt the entire invasion. But first, they needed help. Alex suggested reaching out to other survivors scattered across the country. He remembered hearing rumors of small groups banding together in abandoned military bases, underground bunkers, and remote towns. These pockets of resistance were humanity's last hope, and Alex believed they could unite under a common goal. "We can't do this alone," Alex told Rachel and Emily one evening as they sat in the dimly lit lab. "We need numbers, weapons, supplies, anything we can get." Emily nodded. "I know some people from my old unit who might still be alive. If we can find them, they'll fight." "And I've been monitoring radio frequencies," Rachel added. "There are signals coming from different parts of the country. Some of them sound organized." "Then it's settled," Alex said firmly. "We split up. You two stay here and keep working on cracking the Scourge's systems. I'll go out and rally whoever I can." Rachel frowned. "It's dangerous out there, Alex. What if something happens to you?" "I'll be careful," he promised. "Besides, I'm not exactly new to this kind of thing." After some debate, they agreed on the plan. Alex would travel to nearby survivor camps to recruit fighters, while Rachel and Emily focused on decoding the alien technology and preparing for the next phase of their counterattack. Before leaving, Alex loaded up on supplies, food, water, ammunition, and a portable radio to stay in contact with the lab. Alex's journey took him through desolate landscapes littered with the remnants of human civilization. Buildings lay in ruins, roads were cracked and overgrown, and the air carried the faint smell of smoke and decay. Every step felt like walking through a graveyard. Along the way, he encountered other survivors, some friendly, others hostile. Many had given up hope, retreating into despair or madness. But a few still clung to the belief that humanity could prevail. One such group was holed up in an old factory on the outskirts of Philadelphia. When Alex arrived, he found them huddled around a makeshift fire, their faces gaunt and weary. A man named Jake, tall and broad-shouldered with a scar running down his cheek, greeted him cautiously. "What do you want?" Jake asked, gripping a shotgun tightly. "I'm looking for people who are willing to fight back," Alex replied calmly. "The aliens aren't invincible. We've got a plan, but we need help." Jake exchanged glances with the others before lowering his weapon slightly. "You're talking about suicide?" "No," Alex said firmly. "I'm talking about survival. Sitting here waiting to die isn't going to save anyone. If we work together, we stand a chance." After much persuasion, Jake and his group agreed to join the cause. They weren't soldiers, but they were determined. Together, they gathered weapons, medical supplies, and anything else they could scavenge before heading back toward New York. At another camp, Alex met a woman named Lisa, a former nurse who had taken charge of a group of children orphaned by the invasion. Though hesitant at first, Lisa eventually decided to send some of the older teens with Alex. They deserve a chance to fight for their future, she said quietly. As Alex continued his mission, Rachel and Emily worked tirelessly in the lab. Rachel made significant progress deciphering the Scourge's neural signals, uncovering details about their hierarchy and vulnerabilities. She learned that the central hub controlling the smaller ships was located on the largest vessel hovering above the Atlantic Ocean. Destroying it wouldn't end the invasion, but it would cripple the Scourge's operations temporarily, giving humanity time to regroup. Meanwhile, Emily used her piloting skills to test stolen aircraft, preparing for the eventual assault on the alien fleet. She modified the jets with whatever spare parts she could find, reinforcing their armor and equipping them with experimental weapons designed to penetrate the Scourge's defenses. It was risky work, but Emily refused to let fear slow her down. When Alex finally returned to the lab, he brought with him nearly 24 recruits. Among them were former soldiers, engineers, medics, and even a few civilians eager to contribute. The sight of so many people working together filled Rachel with cautious optimism. For the first time since the invasion began, she allowed herself to believe that victory might be possible. "We've got a shot," Alex said during a meeting with the group. Rachel's figured out how the Scourge operate. Their entire system is controlled by a central hub on one of their big ships. If we take it out, we can buy ourselves some breathing room. But how do we get close enough to hit it? One of the recruits asked skeptically. "That's where Emily comes in," Alex explained, nodding toward the pilot. "She's been working on retrofitting planes to fly faster and hit harder. With her flying cover, we can infiltrate the ship and plant explosives." The plan was risky, but no one argued. They all knew the stakes. Failure meant extinction. Success meant a fighting chance. Over the next few days, the group prepared for the mission. Alex led training sessions, teaching the recruits basic combat tactics and how to use scavenged weapons. Rachel briefed everyone on the layout of the alien ship based on data collected from the captured Scourge soldier. Emily ran simulations, testing different approaches to the assault. Despite the tension, moments of camaraderie emerged. Late at night, the group shared stories around a small fire, laughing at old memories and dreaming of a future free from fear. Even Alex, who had always preferred solitude, found himself drawn to the bond forming among the team. For the first time in what felt like forever, he felt a flicker of hope. Finally, the day of the mission arrived. The air was thick with anticipation as the group gathered in the lab. Rachel handed Alex a small device containing the frequency needed to disrupt the Scourge's neural network temporarily. "This will give you a window of opportunity," she said. "Use it wisely." Emily double-checked her jet one last time, ensuring every modification was secure. "Ready when you are," she said, climbing into the cockpit. As Alex led the team toward the surface, he paused briefly to look back at Rachel. "Stay safe," he said simply. "You too," she replied, her voice steady despite the worry in her eyes. Above ground, the alien ships loomed ominously against the darkening sky. Emily's jet roared to life, lifting off the ground with a deafening roar. Alex and the others boarded a transport vehicle rigged with explosives and set off toward the designated drop zone. The journey was fraught with danger. Scourge patrols roamed the streets, their glowing eyes scanning for intruders. Alex's team moved silently, sticking to shadows and avoiding detection. When they reached the outskirts of the city, Emily's jet streaked overhead, drawing the attention of nearby Scourge fighters. As planned, the distraction allowed Alex's team to slip past unnoticed. Reaching the base of the massive alien ship, Alex signaled for his team to prepare. Using grappling hooks, they scaled the vessel's sleek exterior, their movements precise and deliberate. Once inside, they encountered resistance almost immediately. Scourge warriors swarmed them, their claws slashing through the air. Gunfire echoed through the corridors as the humans fought back with everything they had. Through sheer determination, Alex's team pushed forward, following Rachel's map to locate the central hub. Time was running out, and the weight of their mission pressed heavily on their shoulders. But they refused to falter. Humanity's fate rested in their hands. When they finally reached the hub, Alex planted the explosives with trembling hands. "Let's move," he shouted, pulling his team back toward the exit. Behind them, the countdown began. Moments later, a deafening explosion rocked the ship. Alarms blared as the structure groaned and shuddered. Alex and his team sprinted toward the extraction point, dodging collapsing debris and pursuing Scourge warriors. Above them, Emily's jet circled protectively, firing at enemy ships to clear their path. With seconds to spare, they reached the transport vehicle and sped away as the alien ship plummeted from the sky, crashing into the ocean below. The impact sent shockwaves rippling across the water, visible even from miles away. Back at the lab, Rachel watched the horizon anxiously, waiting for any sign of their return. When she finally saw the transport vehicle approaching, relief washed over her. They had done it. Against all odds, they had struck a blow against the invaders, but the victory was bittersweet. The Scourge were still out there, and the battle was far from over. Yet as Alex, Emily, and the others reunited, they knew one thing for certain. Humanity wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. The explosion of the Scourge's central hub sent a ripple of shock through their forces. For a brief moment, the alien ships hovering above Earth seemed to falter, their movements sluggish and uncoordinated. It was as if the destruction of the hub had severed a vital connection, leaving the invaders disoriented. The humans took this as a sign of hope, a crack in the seemingly impenetrable wall of the Scourge's power. Back at the lab, Alex, Rachel, Emily, and the rest of the team gathered to assess the damage they had inflicted. The mood was tense but optimistic. They had struck a significant blow against the invaders, but none of them were naive enough to believe it would end the war. The Scourge were still out there, and they wouldn't stop until humanity was wiped out. Rachel pored over data from the mission, analyzing the effects of the hub's destruction on the alien fleet. Her computers hummed with activity as she cross-referenced satellite images and intercepted signals. Slowly, a clearer picture began to emerge. Their coordination is weaker, Rachel explained, pointing at her screen. Without the hub, their smaller ships are operating independently. They're less efficient, more scattered. That's good news for us, Alex said, leaning over her shoulder. It gives us time to regroup and plan our next move. But it's not permanent, Rachel warned. They'll adapt. Whatever system they use to control their forces, they'll find a way to fix it. We need to hit them harder before they recover. Emily nodded. We've got one advantage now. They're vulnerable. If we can target more of their key ships, we might be able to cripple their entire operation. The group agreed that their next objective should be to locate and destroy another major hub within the Scourge fleet, but finding it wouldn't be easy. The aliens had learned from their earlier mistake and were likely fortifying their remaining hubs against attack. The humans needed intelligence, information about the Scourge's internal structure, their technology, and their weaknesses. Rachel suggested interrogating the captured Scourge soldier further. Though its neural signals were complex, she believed she could extract more useful information if given enough time. Alex volunteered to assist her, knowing that every second counted. Meanwhile, Emily worked on improving their weapons and aircraft, determined to give the team an edge in future battles. As the days passed, tensions ran high. The survivors in the lab knew they were living on borrowed time. Supplies were dwindling and morale was fragile. Many of the recruits who had joined the cause were exhausted, both physically and emotionally. The constant threat of discovery by the Scourge loomed over them like a shadow. One evening, as Alex sat alone in the lab staring at a map of the surrounding area, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned to see Jake, the scarred man from Philadelphia, approaching cautiously. "You okay?" Jake asked, taking a seat beside him. Alex shrugged. "Just thinking about what comes next." Jake sighed. "It's overwhelming, isn't it? Every step forward feels like 2 steps back." "Yeah," Alex admitted. "But we don't have a choice. If we stop fighting, we lose everything." "I know," Jake said quietly. "That's why I'm still here, but sometimes I wonder, how long can we keep this up?" "As long as we have to," Alex replied firmly. "Every day we survive is a victory. Every life we save matters." Jake nodded, though his expression remained troubled. "You're a good leader, Alex, don't forget that." Alex didn't respond. He wasn't sure he believed Jake's words, but he appreciated the sentiment. Leadership came with a heavy burden, one he wasn't sure he was ready to carry. Still, he couldn't afford to doubt himself now. Humanity needed him to be strong. Meanwhile, Rachel made a breakthrough with the captured Scourge soldier. After days of relentless effort, she managed to decode a crucial piece of information: the location of another major hub within the alien fleet. This hub was located on a ship even larger than the one they had destroyed, orbiting high above the Atlantic Ocean. "We found it," Rachel announced to the group, her voice trembling with excitement. "This hub controls nearly half of their remaining forces. If we take it out, we'll deal them a devastating blow." "How do we get to it?" Emily asked. "Their ships are heavily guarded, and we barely made it out alive last time. We'll have to go bigger this time," Alex said. "More people, more firepower, we'll need everyone working together." The group quickly devised a plan. Using modified aircraft piloted by Emily and a few other skilled recruits, they would launch a coordinated assault on the Scourge ship. Ground teams led by Alex and Jake would infiltrate the vessel, planting explosives deep within its core. To increase their chances of success, Rachel created a device capable of emitting a frequency that temporarily disrupted the Scourge's neural network, giving the humans a brief window to act without interference. Preparations for the mission were intense. Weapons were checked and rechecked, vehicles were reinforced, and strategies were rehearsed repeatedly. Rachel worked tirelessly to ensure the disruption device functioned properly, while Emily fine-tuned the jets to maximize speed and agility. Morale among the team improved slightly as they focused on the task ahead, united by a shared purpose. The night of the mission, the air was thick with anticipation. The group gathered in the lab, each person steeling themselves for the battle to come. Alex addressed them one final time, his voice steady, despite the weight of the moment. "This isn't just about survival," he said. "It's about proving that we're stronger than they think, stronger than fear, stronger than despair. Let's show them what humanity is made of." With those words, the team moved out. Above ground, the alien ships loomed ominously against the starless sky. Emily's jet roared to life, followed by several others streaking into the darkness. Below, Alex and the ground teams boarded transport vehicles rigged with explosives, heading toward the designated drop zone. The journey was perilous. Scourge patrols patrolled the skies and streets, their glowing eyes scanning for intruders. Emily's squadron engaged enemy fighters, drawing their attention away from the ground teams. Explosions lit up the horizon as jets clashed in midair, the sound of gunfire echoing across the landscape. Despite the chaos, Alex's team reached the base of the massive Scourge ship undetected. Using grappling hooks and makeshift tools, they scaled the vessel's smooth exterior, their movements quick and precise. Once inside, they encountered fierce resistance. Scourge warriors swarmed them, their claws slicing through the air with deadly precision. Gunfire erupted in the narrow corridors as the humans fought back with everything they had. Through sheer determination, Alex's team pushed deeper into the ship, following Rachel's map to locate the hub. Along the way, they discovered horrors beyond imagination. Entire sections of the ship were filled with human prisoners, their bodies connected to strange machines that harvested their biological data. Others lay motionless, their lifeless forms discarded like trash. The sight fueled the team's resolve, anger replacing fear as they pressed onward. When they finally reached the hub, Alex handed the explosives to Jake, who set to work planting them strategically. Meanwhile, Alex activated Rachel's disruption device, flooding the area with a high-frequency signal. For a brief moment, the Scourge froze, their movements halting as the neural network failed. The humans seized the opportunity, retreating quickly before the effect wore off. As they raced back toward the extraction point, alarms blared throughout the ship. The Scourge recovered rapidly, their numbers overwhelming. Alex and his team fought, desperately, their ammunition running low. Just as it seemed they wouldn't make it out alive, Emily's jet swooped in, firing at the pursuing aliens and clearing a path for escape. The explosives detonated with a deafening roar, shaking the ship violently. Fire engulfed the corridors as the structure began to collapse. Alex and his team leapt onto the transport vehicle and sped away, narrowly avoiding falling debris. Behind them, the massive Scourge ship broke apart, plummeting toward the ocean. Hello. Back at the lab, Rachel watched anxiously as the team returned, battered but alive. Relief washed over her as she embraced Alex, tears streaming down her face. They had done it again. Against all odds, they had struck another blow against the invaders. But the victory was fleeting. The Scourge fleet remained intact, and their resolve showed no signs of weakening. As the team rested and tended to their wounds, they knew the fight was far from over. Yet amidst the exhaustion and sorrow, there was a glimmer of hope. A reminder that humanity's spirit could not be extinguished so easily. The destruction of the second Scourge hub was a major victory, but it came at a cost. The human team had suffered losses, good people who wouldn't return to the lab. Among them was Jake, the scarred leader from Philadelphia, who had sacrificed himself to ensure the explosives were planted correctly. His death weighed heavily on everyone, especially Alex, who had come to see him as both a friend and a trusted ally. Despite their grief, there was no time to mourn. The Scourge were adapting quickly, reinforcing their remaining hubs and increasing patrols around their ships. The humans knew they couldn't afford to slow down. Every day they delayed gave the invaders more time to recover and retaliate. Rachel, Emily, and Alex gathered what remained of their team in the lab to plan their next move. "We've hit them twice now," Alex said, pacing back and forth. "But we're running out of options. They're too strong, too many." Rachel shook her head. "Not necessarily. We've been focusing on taking out their hubs one by one, but that's not enough. If we want to win this, we need to target something bigger, their central command." "Their queenship?" Emily asked, raising an eyebrow. "Isn't that just asking for suicide?" "It's risky," Rachel admitted. "But if we can disable their central command, we might be able to shut down their entire operation. Their collective network relies on it. Without it, they'll lose cohesion." Alex frowned. "Even if we manage to locate their central command, how do we get close enough to hit it? It's probably guarded like nothing we've seen before." "That's where I come in," Emily said confidently. "I've been modifying the jets to handle higher speeds and tougher defenses. If anyone can get us close, it's me. And I can help with the tech," Rachel added. "If we can create a stronger version of the disruption device, we might be able to paralyze their systems long enough to plant explosives." The group debated the plan, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. In the end, they agreed. It was their best and possibly only chance, but they also knew success would require more than just strategy. They needed unity, courage, and sheer determination. Over the next few days, the survivors worked tirelessly to prepare for the mission. Emily spent hours in the hangar, fine-tuning the stolen aircraft and testing new modifications. She equipped the jets with experimental weapons designed to penetrate the Scourge's advanced shielding. Meanwhile, Rachel focused on upgrading the disruption device, pushing herself to the brink of exhaustion in the process. Alex took charge of training the ground teams, drilling them on tactics, and preparing them mentally for the challenges ahead. He emphasized teamwork and adaptability, knowing that improvisation would be key once they were inside the alien ship. Morale remained fragile, but the shared goal kept everyone moving forward. One evening, as Alex walked through the lab, he noticed Lisa, the former nurse, sitting alone in a corner. Her hands trembled slightly as she stitched up a tear in her jacket. He approached her quietly, unsure of what to say. "You holding up okay?" he asked gently. Lisa looked up, forcing a smile. "As well as anyone, I guess. It's hard. Losing so many people." "I know," Alex replied. "It never gets easier." She hesitated before speaking again. "Do you think we can really do this? Take down their central command, I mean." Alex paused, choosing his words carefully. "Honestly, I don't know. But I do know one thing. We can't give up. Not yet. As long as we keep fighting, there's hope." Lisa nodded slowly, though doubt lingered in her eyes. "Hope feels thin these days. It's all we've got." Alex said firmly. The night of the mission arrived, bringing with it a sense of foreboding. The team gathered in the lab, checking their gear one last time. Rachel handed Alex the upgraded disruption device, explaining its functions in quick, precise sentences. Emily double-checked her jet, ensuring every modification was secure. Around them, the recruits exchanged nervous glances, their faces pale but resolute. "All right, listen up," Alex called out, raising his voice to be heard over the hum of activity. "This is it, the biggest fight we've faced so far. Stick to the plan, watch each other's backs, and don't stop until the job's done. We owe it to everyone who didn't make it this far." The group nodded, their expressions grim but determined. With a final round of handshakes and quiet goodbyes, they moved out. Above ground, the alien fleet loomed ominously, their ships casting long shadows across the ruined cityscape. Emily's jet roared to life, followed by several others streaking into the darkened sky. Below, Alex and the ground teams boarded transport vehicles rigged with explosives, heading toward the designated drop zone. The journey was fraught with danger. Scourge patrols swarmed the area, their glowing eyes scanning for intruders. Emily's squadron engaged enemy fighters, drawing their attention away from the ground teams. Explosions lit up the horizon as jets clashed in midair, the sound of gunfire echoing across the landscape. Despite the chaos, Alex's team reached the base of the central command ship undetected. Using grappling hooks and makeshift tools, they scaled the vessel's sleek exterior, their movements quick and precise. Once inside, they encountered fierce resistance. Scourge warriors swarmed them, their claws slicing through the air with deadly precision. Gunfire erupted in the narrow corridors as the humans fought back with everything they had. Through sheer determination, Alex's team pushed deeper into the ship, following Rachel's map to locate the central core. Along the way, they discovered horrifying truths about the Scourge's methods. Entire sections of the ship were dedicated to harvesting resources from Earth, water, minerals, even biological material taken from captured humans. Others contained grotesque experiments, blending alien technology with human anatomy in ways that made Alex's stomach churn. When they finally reached the central core, Alex activated the upgraded disruption device, flooding the area with a high-frequency signal. For a brief moment, the Scourge froze, their movements halting as the neural network failed. The humans seized the opportunity, planting explosives strategically throughout the chamber. As they raced back toward the extraction point, alarms blared. Throughout the ship, the Scourge recovered rapidly, their numbers overwhelming. Alex and his team fought desperately, their ammunition running dangerously low. Just as it seemed they wouldn't make it out alive, Emily's jet swooped in, firing at the pursuing aliens and clearing a path for escape. The explosives detonated with a deafening roar, shaking the ship violently. Fire engulfed the corridors as the structure began to collapse. Alex and his team leapt onto the transport vehicle and sped away, narrowly avoiding falling debris. Behind them, the massive Scourge ship broke apart, crashing into the ocean below. Back at the lab, Rachel watched anxiously as the team returned, battered but alive. Relief washed over her as she embraced Alex, tears streaming down her face. They had done it. They had struck a devastating blow to the Scourge's central command. But the victory was bittersweet. The Scourge fleet still hovered above Earth, their forces weakened but not defeated. As the team rested and tended to their wounds, they knew the fight was far from over. Yet amidst the exhaustion and sorrow, there was a flicker of hope, a reminder that humanity's spirit could not be extinguished so easily. The days that followed were tense. The Scourge retaliated fiercely, launching relentless attacks on human survivors wherever they could find them. Cities burned, and countless lives were lost. But the humans refused to surrender. They regrouped, rebuilt, and prepared for the next phase of the war. In the lab, Rachel worked tirelessly to analyze data from the mission, searching for any remaining vulnerabilities in the Scourge's systems. Emily continued to modify their aircraft, determined to give the team an edge in future battles. And Alex led the ground teams with unwavering resolve, inspiring those around him to keep fighting no matter the odds. Though the road ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear. Humanity wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. The destruction of the Scourge's Central Command was a turning point in the war, but it wasn't the end. The alien fleet remained intact, though their coordination had been severely weakened. Without their central hub, the Scourge ships operated independently, making them less efficient and more scattered. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had a real chance to fight back. Not just to survive, but to reclaim their world. In the aftermath of the mission, Alex, Rachel, Emily, and the rest of the team regrouped at the lab. The survivors were battered and exhausted, their bodies bruised and their spirits tested by loss after loss. Yet, amidst the grief and fatigue, there was a flicker of hope. They had proven that the Scourge could be beaten, even if only temporarily. That knowledge gave them strength. Rachel worked tirelessly to analyze data from the destroyed Central Command. She pored over fragments of alien technology recovered during the mission, piecing together how the Scourge's neural network functioned. Her goal was simple: find a way to disable their collective consciousness entirely. If she succeeded, the Scourge would lose their ability to act as a unified force, leaving them vulnerable to defeat. It's not just about taking out individual ships anymore, Rachel explained to Alex and Emily one evening. Their entire system relies on this neural connection. If we can disrupt it completely, we might be able to shut them down for good. But how? Emily asked, leaning against the wall. You said yourself that the disruption device only works for a short time. I know, Rachel replied, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. But I think I've found something. A frequency that resonates with their biology. If we amplify it enough, it could overload their neural pathways permanently. Alex frowned. That sounds dangerous. What happens if it doesn't work? Then we're no worse off than we are now, Rachel said firmly. But if it does, we win. The group agreed to proceed with the plan, knowing it was their best shot at ending the war. Emily focused on modifying the stolen jets to carry the amplified signal, while Rachel fine-tuned the device itself. Alex led training sessions for the ground teams, ensuring everyone was prepared for what lay ahead. Supplies were running low and tensions were high, but they refused to give up. As the days passed, the Scourge launched relentless attacks on human settlements. Cities burned, and countless lives were lost. But the humans fought back with everything. They had using guerrilla tactics to harass the invaders and slow their advance. Small pockets of resistance emerged across the globe, united by a shared purpose: survival. One night, as Alex walked through the lab, he noticed Lisa sitting alone, staring at a map of Earth covered in red marks, locations where Scourge activity had been reported. Her face was pale, her hands trembling slightly. You holding up okay? Alex asked, sitting beside her. Lisa shook her head. It's hard to keep going when it feels like we're losing everywhere else. Even if we stop them here, what about the rest of the world? We don't have to save the whole planet at once, Alex replied. We just have to start somewhere. Every life we save matters. Every ship we destroy weakens them. It's not about winning all at once, it's about keeping the fight alive. Lisa nodded slowly, though doubt lingered in her eyes. I just wish I could see the end of this. So do I, Alex admitted. But we won't get there if we quit now. The final mission was set for dawn. The team gathered in the lab, checking their gear one last time. Rachel handed Alex the upgraded disruption device, explaining its functions in quick, precise sentences. Once you activate it, you'll have 5 minutes to get clear, she warned. After that, the signal will amplify beyond our control. Emily double-checked her jet, ensuring every modification was secure. Ready when you are, she said confidently, climbing into the cockpit. Around them, the recruits exchanged nervous glances, their faces pale but resolute. Alex addressed the group one final time, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. This is it. The last stand. Stick to the plan, watch each other's backs, and don't stop until the job's done. We owe it to everyone who didn't make it this far. The group nodded, their expressions grim but determined. With a final round of handshakes and quiet goodbyes, They moved out. Above ground, the alien fleet loomed ominously, their ships casting long shadows across the ruined cityscape. Emily's jet roared to life, followed by several others streaking into the darkened sky. Below, Alex and the ground teams boarded transport vehicles rigged with explosives, heading toward the designated drop zone. The journey was fraught with danger. Scourge patrols swarmed the area, their glowing eyes scanning for intruders. Emily's squadron engaged enemy fighters, drawing their attention away from the ground teams. Explosions lit up the horizon as jets clashed in midair, the sound of gunfire echoing across the landscape. Despite the chaos, Alex's team reached the base of the largest remaining Scourge ship undetected. Using grappling hooks and makeshift tools, they scaled the vessel's sleek exterior, their movements quick and precise. Once inside, they encountered fierce resistance. Scourge warriors swarmed them, their claws slicing through the air with deadly precision. Gunfire erupted in the narrow corridors as the humans fought back with everything they had. Through sheer determination, Alex's team pushed deeper into the ship, following Rachel's map to locate the central core. Along the way, they discovered horrifying truths about the Scourge's methods. Entire sections of the ship were dedicated to harvesting resources from Earth: water, minerals, even biological material taken from captured humans. Others contained grotesque experiments, blending alien technology with human anatomy in ways that made Alex's stomach churn. When they finally reached the central core, Alex activated the upgraded disruption device, flooding the area with a high-frequency signal. For a brief moment, the Scourge froze, their movements halting as the neural network failed. The humans seized the opportunity, planting explosives strategically throughout the chamber. As they raced back toward the extraction point, alarms blared throughout the ship. The Scourge recovered rapidly, their numbers overwhelming. Alex and his team fought desperately, their ammunition running dangerously low. Just as it seemed they wouldn't make it out alive, Emily's jet swooped in, firing at the pursuing aliens and clearing a path for escape. The explosives detonated with a deafening roar, shaking the ship violently. Fire engulfed the corridors as the structure began to collapse. Alex and his team leapt onto the transport vehicle and sped away, narrowly avoiding falling debris. Behind them, the massive Scourge ship broke apart, crashing into the ocean below. Back at the lab, Rachel watched anxiously as the team returned, battered but alive. Relief washed over her as she embraced Alex, tears streaming down her face. They had done it. They had struck a devastating blow to the Scourge's forces. But the victory was bittersweet. The Scourge fleet still hovered above Earth, their numbers reduced but not eliminated. As the team rested and tended to their wounds, they knew the fight was far from over. Yet amidst the exhaustion and sorrow, there was a flicker of hope, a reminder that humanity's spirit could not be extinguished so easily. Weeks later, the effects of the amplified signal became apparent. The Scourge ships began to falter, their movements sluggish and uncoordinated. Without their neural network, they were unable to act as a unified force. Human resistance groups around the world launched coordinated counterattacks, driving the invaders back step by step. Though the war was far from over, the tide had turned. Humanity had proven that they were stronger than fear, stronger than despair. Together, they had faced impossible odds and refused to give up. As Alex stood on the roof of the lab watching the first rays of sunlight pierce through the clouds, he felt a sense of cautious optimism. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time in months he allowed himself to believe in a future free from the shadow of the Scourge. "We did it," Rachel said softly, joining him on the roof. "Not all of it, but enough to keep fighting." "Yeah," Alex replied, his voice steady. "And we'll keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight for." Together, they watched the sunrise, a symbol of hope in a world scarred by war. Humanity had stared into the abyss and survived.